Back to the blue line, he gives it away. So here comes the Steelheads. Witkowski 1-on-2, runs out of real estate. Witkowski and McCoy had a couple shots back and forth. Looked like they might have dropped the mitts almost. That does not happen. Puck ends up back in the Steelhead zone as we're approaching the halfway mark of this first period. Shots 7 for the Steelheads, 4 for Sudbury. A lot of pushing and shoving deep inside the Steelhead zone. Puck hemmed in along the boards. Wolves dig it free. At the blue line is McCoy. One-time shot comes. Stick save made by Ivan Kovic. Power play is officially done now for Sudbury. 0 for 1, as is the Steelheads on the man advantage. Steelheads chip the puck out, but Molnar back to help out defensively for Sudbury. Quick up to Blonda, who loves to skate with the puck. Luca Blonda, twisting and turning. Backhand pass, he gives it away. And a big hit from Big Tajan Street as the fans erupt with an applause inside the Sudbury barn. The Steelheads inside the Wolves zone as Street chips the puck over the glass. And I believe that may have deflected, so I'm not sure that that's going to be a penalty. However, it could be. Yes, it's going to be another delay of game penalty for Sudbury.
Okay, so Street just a moment ago, first good check of the game. Coop, the offensive zone giveaways, defensive zone giveaways we saw earlier with Walton. Let's stop this right now. I mean, you're down 2-0. You really can't afford to be giving the puck away in the offensive zone, or especially the defensive zone against a team like Brampton. You do that often enough, and Porter Martone is going to be all over that puck and snipe one in. I mean, the guy's doing really well points-wise, and this is a dangerous hockey club. Maybe not the same team that the Wolves beat earlier. They're on a streak now, and they're trying to advance their grade in terms of the overall standings in the conference.
And those two goals came early in the first period as well against Sudbury and took the crowd right out of it.
And just simple pucks on the net. There was a shot from that left face-off circle, second goal right in front. Doing what they've got to do.
Face-off coming inside the Sudbury zone. McDonnell taking the draw against Villeneuve, and it's the Steelheads winning the face-off. Fibberger at the blue line, hands it off into the corner. Fibberger again at the blue line, cross-ice pass. Shot comes, deflected off the blocker of Krawchuk. Steelheads will continue to move it around inside the Wolves zone. Again, Steelheads on a power play. They get a shot off, and that one is gobbled up by the jersey area of Nate Krawchuk.
So the Wolves with 5 shots. How many have really been that difficult for Ivan Kovic? Maybe one, that last opportunity that he faced.
Well, face-off comes inside the Wolves zone again, won by the Steelheads. Steelheads trying to make this an early 3-0 lead. Pass out in front. Martone, nice chip pass in front, and a good glove save for Nate Krawchuk as Porter Martone. He is so crafty on the puck. The captain of this Steelheads club has a little smirk with Finn Harding, but Nate Krawchuk flashing some leather.
Yeah, Martone with 26 goals and 76 points already, so that's only after 40 games.
Another face-off won by the Steelheads inside the Wolves zone. A shot came, pad save for Krawchuk. Steelheads continue to move it around. Fibberger into the corner. Steelheads, good-looking power play, pass out in front. Missing on it was Martone again. Steelheads, crafty on this man advantage. Fibberger, back to Martone, a shot, deflected into the mesh, and out of play. Maybe a beneficial bounce for Sudbury, as this Steelheads power play is all of a sudden really, really clicking.
Krawchuk right now has got to be airtight. I mean, after all, it's 2-0, and he's made some big saves in the last couple of minutes, so keep it up and give your team a big chance to get back into this game. Maybe one before the period ends and come out storming in period number 2.
Face-off inside the Wolves zone. Steelheads on a power play for another minute, but they have the puck inside the Wolves zone. Steelheads around the Sudbury net. Van Volsen around the boards, picked up by Sova. Shot comes, deflected into the corner by Muse. And now Speedy Rowan Henderson, shorthanded for Sudbury. Quick up to Villeneuve. Nate Villeneuve's going to eye down Sova. Sova for the Steelheads. Burst of speed. Gets it up to Misa, one of the goal scorers so far here tonight at the Sudbury Arena. 8.5 minutes to go in the first period. Again, if you're just joining the broadcast, it is 2-0 for the Steelheads. Both goals coming very early in the period. Brampton taking it across, 20 seconds left in this power play. Misa, a feed over to Von Richter. Von Richter looking back at the blue line. Von Richter mishandling the puck, and so Villeneuve will put it right back onto the stick of Donovan McCoy, who will then send it down the distance, and that should do it for this power play. And back-to-back delay of game penalties, too. We don't see that very often.
Very odd, very odd.
Back to even strength. Steelheads in the Wolves zone. A shot comes from Ulrichsen. Look out. Nearly a costly turnover by Sudbury. Another pass out in front. Wolves unable to exit their own zone right now. Ulrichsen twisting and turning. He's a big body up there for the Steelheads. Taken down by Noah Roberts, though. Ulrichsen to Zidlicki. Ulrichsen back to Zidlicki. Zidlicki to Leskovar. Shot comes, deflected into the corner. Just barely kept in by the Steelheads, and finally the Wolves, out of a little bit of desperation, get it back into the Steelhead zone. Andre Molnar on the forecheck, chases the puck down to the Steelhead zone. Brampton putting it to the center line. Steelheads want a full line change. So the puck is picked up by Blonda, but this will be an icing call coming against Sudbury with 7:07 to go in the first period.
Molnar not too impressive trying to block a shot in his own end. He's got to attend a shot blocking clinic. Standing up straight with your legs together is not going to get the job done. So again, he's not here for his shot blocking ability. He's here to score. Let's see what he does without Musty tonight.
Face off inside the Wolves zone. It's won by the Steelheads. They're trying to get some more momentum inside the Wolves zone. Sudbury, though, across the red line, they get it out. Here's Molnar, shot from an odd angle, goes right through the blue paint in the Brampton crease. And back the other way come the Steelheads. Witkowski over to Patton, who opened up the scoring here tonight. Wolves are going to fire it right back into the Steelhead zone, and it's another icing call against Sudbury.
The Wolves really just allowing Brampton to play their game. I mean, shots on goal for what they're worth, 12-5. I mean, some better chances would probably narrow that total down. But again, the Wolves got to get something going. Too much running around in their own end of the ice.
Face off inside the Wolves zone with 6:40 left in this first period. It's a 2-0 lead for the Steelheads. Puck hemmed in along the boards. Good pressure right now from the Steelheads. Fibiger back to the blue line. McDonnell, who has that chin strap that's undone. Puck bobbles dangerously in front of the Sudbury net, and just like that, it was almost a 3-0 lead. Puck through the neutral zone. Wolves exit. They get a full line change. And here comes the Steelheads. McDonnell, and a fortunate offside call for the Sudbury Wolves fans, as it was a line change and everybody went off at the same time. And you could hear from where Rick and I are standing, the entire bench yelling, "Look out!" because two Steelheads players came flying in from the bench. But offside was the call.
Yeah, the Wolves caught a big break there. Good call by the linesman on that one, because the Wolves can certainly use that break and try to get back on the board here.
Play continues with 6:05 left in the first period. Puck back into the Steelhead zone. Wolves trying to get some momentum going. They haven't had a lot of it yet in this first period. Steelheads back into Wolves territory.
Offside.
And another offside call. Once again, want to give a shout out to anyone who's watching online. I know there's Sudbury Wolves are streaming on Facebook Live. Brian Cooper, Rick Wyman. If you're listening on the radio dial, shout out to you as well, or online. Wherever you're tuning into Wolves hockey from, we appreciate that you're hanging out with us in whichever way.
And Coop always wears the tie when he's doing games, by the way, so that's a good sign.
That's true. Always the tie.
The tie guy.
The tie guy. Face off just outside of the Sudbury zone. Well, the puck was dropped. So it looked like the Wolves thought it was going to be a redo, but play continues. Draw officially won by the Steelheads. They're inside the Wolves zone right now. Shot coming at the blue line. It's wide of the net. Leskovar gets one onto the left pad of Nate Krawchuk. And look out, a loose puck, a shot, and a goal. for the Steelheads. It is
Wow.
3-0 Steelheads.
Just trying to get the number on that goal scorer.
It's Ulrichsen.
Nice move to beat Krawchuk. Swoops around him and goes to the backhand to put that puck behind Krawchuk. 3-0. Not what the Wolves wanted. We got 5.5 to go here in the opening period.
And that was just a slick move in front. There was a loose puck. Found it. Forehand, backhand. Used the big reach that he's got and into the back of the net. Vilmer Ulrichsen, 6'6". So you can just imagine the reach that kid has got. Face off as play continues. 5.5 minutes left in this first period. Wolves back into the Steelhead zone. Here's Villeneuve. A pass out in front, taken down real hard by Sova. Steelheads chipping the puck out of their own zone. Roberts for Sudbury, up to Tommaso. Not a whole lot of help there inside the Steelhead zone, and so Brampton will skate it out, thanks to Sherratt. Sherratt was hit from behind by Tommaso. Play continues. Steelheads moving it, eventually into Wolves territory. Looks like a hand pass, and we're going to see our second TV timeout. So not the ideal start that Sudbury wanted back on home ice, and especially, well, they're about to kick off a lengthy road trip again this coming weekend. But if you're the Wolves coaching staff, we can, from where we're standing, we can actually see head coach Scott Barney having a conversation right now with the entire bench. And you can only imagine the conversation that's happening down there right now.
Trying to settle them down. I mean, after all, you're down 3-0. You've got to get a goal here somehow before this period ends. Otherwise, you don't want to give the Steelheads another opportunity here. Ivan Kovic hasn't worked up a sweat. He might have had one good shot of the 5 taken by the Sudbury Wolves so far in this period. I mean, Coop, you see it time and time again. You see, okay, there's some potential here. You've got Brampton at home. Let's see what you can do. Then the game plan just goes awry in the opening couple of minutes of the period.
Face-off just outside of the Steelhead zone, won by Sudbury. In fact, they win it so well. McCoy comes all the way back into Wolves territory. Sudbury fires it back into the Steelhead zone. Jakob Fibiger picked up an assist on the opening goal. He's going to fire it the distance, and this will be an icing call against Brampton.
So the Wolves coming off that loss to Erie on Saturday. You alluded to discipline in that contest, something they've got to curtail in the home stretch if they want to amount to, well, a higher standing in the OHL's Eastern Conference. Stay out of the box. Very important, very.
Well, face-off came inside the Steelhead zone. Wolves won it. Walton with a shot, and it was deflected. Comes back through the neutral zone, and Steelheads will carry it into the Sudbury zone. Odell, though, picking it up for the Wolves. Quick up to Villeneuve. Villeneuve stretch feed looking for Walton. Walton was one-on-one, and back the other way comes McDonnell. McDonnell, chance, backhand, nice pad save made by Krawchuk. Puck squirts out in front of the Sudbury net, and look out, dangerous bounce. Krawchuk had to be oh so careful on that one.
McDonnell going to the backhand, just like the third goal scorer, Arvidsson, in that situation. I guess McDonnell figured, okay, we just got a goal that way, maybe I'll try it, but good save there by Krawchuk to force the face-off to his right, deep in the Sudbury zone. 4:13 to go here in period 1.
Misa, who also scored in this period, his 31st of the season, wins the draw for the Steelheads. They fire the puck around the Sudbury net. About 4 minutes and a bit left in this opening frame. Steelheads are on it. The big Ulrichsen. Again, he stands 6'6". He is a big dude. Fires the puck in front of the Sudbury net, and it's cleared this time by Sudbury. Henderson takes a heavy hit at the red line. Look out, but still gets the puck deep inside the Steelhead zone. Here's Muse, a shot towards the net. Coughlin, toe drag, shot comes, pad save for Ivan Kovic. Probably the best opportunity the Wolves have had this first period.
That is the topper so far.
And it's a beauty pad save for Ivan Kovic. Steelheads back into Wolves territory with 3.5 minutes left in the first period. Sudbury finding a little bit of momentum now, and Chase Coughlin absolutely nailed by Leskovarin along the boards. Steelheads twisting and turning. Brampton wants a line change, and so they'll steer it in their own end. Now with a burst of speed comes Witkowski. Witkowski getting around 2-3 different Wolves skaters, chases the puck into the corner. Steelheads will just barely keep it in. Shot towards the Sudbury net, deflected into the corner. Under 3 minutes left now in this opening period. Wolves cycling it around. Dax Klinghammer fires a pass back to Noah Roberts of Sudbury. Forward feed for Big Tajan Street. Street wanted to go for his skate. You know he's going to try and throw a hit when he can to get some sort of a spark for the Sudbury club, and they really need one right now. But Blonda, he can also skate, and he's on it now for Sudbury. Toe drag move, taken down inside the Steelhead zone. Looking at the referee, no call.
Linesman and one of the players for the Steelheads. Bit of a collision at Steelheads line.
Here come the Wolves. Tajan Street a shot, a 2-on-1 opportunity for Sudbury, and it was a nice stick save for Ivan Kovic again. Wolves still have it. McCoy has shot. Big pad save for Ivan Kovic. And Street throwing a hit on Zidlicki in front of the Steelheads net. This line for Sudbury getting some heavy hits in. Steelheads are up 3-0 as they fire the puck into the Wolves zone. Icing will be the official call with $1:54 left in this opening frame. And coming up in the first intermission, we're going to hear, well, we'll just call it part A of the OHL podcast. It's hosted by fellow OHL broadcaster Mike Farwell of the Kitchener Rangers. Let you listen to a little bit of that in the first period, or first intermission.
Always informative and, of course, always entertaining.
Face off inside the Steelhead zone. Shot by Sudbury after the Wolves won the draw. Odell will just barely keep it into the Wolves zone. Hudson Chitteroni around the Steelheads net. Rakoff. He'll take it. He runs into DeGian Tommaso. DeGian Tommaso run into by a few different Steelheads players, but hey, sometimes you got to take a hit to make a play, and that's exactly what he just did. Got it back to the blue line, but Odell could not hold the zone.
Face-off coming back. We're talking to the bench on the far side, the Steelheads bench.
So sorry, go ahead.
We'll have a face-off deep in the Steelhead zone. So there was a conversation at the bench going on. Now the referees and the linesmen are conferring. Did someone see something or hear something?
There's a huddle happening pretty much right in front of the Steelheads bench. And as Rick said, there's a conversation happening. Both linesmen, both referees are in.
And this happened right after the whistle, so something's going on here. Okay, so they're going to bring the face-off to center ice, so somebody goofed up here.
So I'm wondering if they called it icing, but it was not an icing call. So
that's why you drop at center. It's my bad. I got to drop the puck at center.
So play continues. Face-off was dropped at center ice. Steelheads are on it. They get the puck deep into the Wolves zone with 1:10 left in this opening frame. 3-0 Steelheads, by the way. Shot comes from Brampton. Goes wide to the net, picked up by Nate Villeneuve. Villeneuve backhand saucer feed intended for Ferron. Alex Ferron kicks it to Muse. Muse forward pass to Walton. Pass out in front of shot. What a pad save for Jack Ivan Kovic. Villeneuve all alone in a glorious opportunity. Steelheads back the other way. Final minute of play, by the way, in this opening frame. Puck in front of the Sudbury net, and they score. Martone.
Well, we
somewhere in the air, and he just took a swing at it and went in.
We talked about his propensity to be dangerous around the net. Yes, the guy can score. He can create situations and put pucks in nets that ordinary players can't. Almost in the air. Maybe they're going to call for a high stick review on this one. Was the stick high?
I'm not sure they're even going to look at it. It is 4-0 Steelheads.
Martone getting his first, so again, he's up to 77 points. Goal number 27 for him.
Steelheads take it back into the Wolves zone. Again, if you're just joining the broadcast tonight, it is 4-0 Steelheads. 30 seconds left into the opening frame. Brampton, they want another one. Pass in front, shot, rebound is there in front of the Sudbury net, and Krawczyk makes the save. Ziliato, forward feed to Coughlin. Coughlin gets a shot. Easy glove save for Ivan Kovic. 17.7 left on the clock. And you can only imagine the conversations that might be happening in the dressing room. I guess the settle down conversations, to say the least.
Well, I know some fans are probably thinking, big hockey game on tonight involving Canada and Sweden.
Four Nations face-off, that's right. Face-off inside the Steelhead zone. Won by Sudbury. Coughlin gets a shot, it's deflected. Odell, he gets one at the blue line, and it goes wide. Final 10 seconds of play in the first period. Coughlin throwing a heavy hit on Ulrichsen. Ulrichsen skates away. And now we get some extra pushing and shoving between Zabeski and Odell. We got an arm in the air. And it's going to be a roughing call against Chase Coughlin.
Now starring in season 5 of Shoresy.
That's right, that's right. And just 1.5 seconds left on the clock, so the Steelheads will kick off the second period on the power play. Face-off to drown out the clock will come inside the Wolves zone. McDonnell and Villeneuve. Face-off is won by Sudbury, and you'll hear the horn. That does it for the first period of play tonight between the Steelheads and the Wolves. Well, fans here in Sudbury not entirely pleased with how this one has started.
No, and can you blame them? I mean, it was 2-0 before you could blink early in the first period, then 3-0. Now, that goal late here in the first period, 4-0, and a couple of penalties over the glass for the Wolves. Could be higher, and again, shots on goal 17-10, but aside from Villeneuve with that big shot late in the period, Ivan Kovic making the save. He's had probably about 3 tough chances, but again, Krawczyk left to his lonesome, and that's why we had a 4-0 hockey game. Not a great start for the Wolves, and again, there's going to have to be some major adjustments here into the second and third.
Well, Nate Krawczyk, the last one off the ice, and he was visually frustrated with himself, especially at the tail end of that period, and begs the question, do you think the Wolves start fresh? Do you think Finn Marshall gets an opportunity into the second period?
Well, we've done that dance before here just a couple of weeks ago against Brantford, so it's a matter of, for Krawczyk, I mean, you're going to need him this weekend playing against Flint and Saginaw, so you know what? Maybe you're better off saying, okay, let's see what we can do with Finn, put him in goal, might spark the team, see what happens, but Krawczyk's got to be ready to go come Friday night.
All right, Rick and I will step out. When we return, we'll check your out-of-town scoreboard. There are a few other games happening in the OHL this evening. We'll even check what's happening with the Four Nations face-off. I know the game doesn't start for a few more minutes, but still, it's a big night.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it for sure. You're listening to Wolves Hockey on 96.7 CKLU, 4-0 Steelheads after the opening period of play.
Donations to the War Amps have a lasting impact on amputees. Today, your support gives them the artificial limbs and resources they need for everyday activities and learning to live with amputation. Having access to our essential programs helps amputees prepare for tomorrow on their road to independence. The War Amps is committed to improving the quality of life for Canadian amputees, but this wouldn't be possible without you. To learn how your donation helps, visit waramps.ca.
My name is John Janak. I was a local firefighter for 34 years. Carbon monoxide killed my niece Lori Hawkins and her entire family in Woodstock. They did not have a carbon monoxide alarm. In their honor, the Ontario government passed a law making CO alarms mandatory for all homes with an attached garage, fireplace, gas appliances, or heating system. Please protect your family today by installing a carbon monoxide alarm.
Did you know that your death has the power to save up to 8 lives? Right now in Ontario, over 1,500 people are waiting for a life-saving organ. Every 3 days, one of them dies waiting. The good news is that you can help. In just 2 minutes, you can register to be an organ donor and tissue donor and help save lives. Register today and join your fellow Canadians in becoming a donor nation. Together, we can all make a difference. Visit beadonor.ca to register or learn more.
Did you know that community radio stations in Canada broadcast in more than 65 different languages? This is where stories come alive and where we come together. But as big international media dominates the spotlight, local news and local voices struggle to be heard. Our government must help these local stations continue to do what they do best, serve the unique needs of our communities. We're asking you to go support the Community Radio Initiative at mycri.ca. Stand with us for community radio future.
You're listening to Sudbury Student and Community Radio Station, CKLU 96.7 FM, and streaming live at cklu.ca.
Welcome back inside the Sudbury Community Arena. Again, 4-0 Steelheads after the opening period of play. Rick, what else is happening in the OHL tonight?
Well, in the Sioux GFL Memorial Gardens, it's Saginaw leading the Sioux Greyhounds by a score of 1-0. Sarnia on top of Guelph by a score of 2-0. And one more game to talk about that we'll keep a close eye on at the Erie Insurance Arena. Proud sponsors of the Erie Otters, of course. Otters and Niagara Ice Dogs scoreless after one, so we'll see what happens there. 4-0 here in Sudbury. Steelheads over the Sudbury Wolves, and don't forget, these same Steelheads will be in North Bay tomorrow evening to take on the Battalion. The Wolves hit the road for 3 games beginning Friday. They'll take on Flint, Saginaw, and Guelph on the weekend.
And really quick, before we get into the OHL podcasts, Four Nations Face-Off kicks off tonight. A lot of people have been talking about that. Canada and Sweden. This is cool. A lot of people are asking, okay, so when does the All-Star game happen? Well, no, All-Star game gets bumped this year, and the Four Nations Face-Off kind of takes its place. So it gets underway at 8 o'clock here tonight.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
And Jordan Biddington is going to be the starting goaltender for Canada. I'm done with All-Star games, I'm sorry. I like this concept of a tournament. Either do this, the Olympics, or whatever else. The only thing we're missing in this tournament are the Russians. There's always a bad guy, and the Russians always play the villain real well. So again, it's we got 4 good teams. We'll see what happens, and you know what? I'm expecting the unexpected. I don't know what's going to happen, but everyone thinks that the Americans are going to be a shoo-in to win this. I don't think so.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But here at the Sudbury Arena, we are inside the first intermission. 4-0 Steelheads. Not a great start for Sudbury. We'll have to wait and see what is in store for us for second period action. But right now, I'll let you listen to a little bit of the OHL podcast. It's hosted by our broadcast colleague, Mike Farwell of the Kitchener Rangers. You can find this segment on YouTube. It's fantastic. A lot of great information, a lot of great conversation. Here's a little portion of this past week's episode. You're listening to Wolves Hockey on 96.7 CKLU.
What a week to be on the OHL podcast after the weekend that was, Dan Mahar. Hockey Day in the Ontario Hockey League with 3 games culminating in a Windsor-London game in the border city at the WFCU Centre. And forget the game. How about the social media banter afterwards? Something about being poor losers, and then it's tweeted and deleted, or X'd and then X'd out. I don't know what you call it, but you gotta love a little bit of rivalry in the game.
Well, I was a little late to the game, so I saw the replies, actually. So there was a reply from the official Windsor count to something from the London count, which had come from the original one from the Windsor count, all of which got deleted in some sort of order. So it was like, you know, when your kids are going out in the playground and both parents come in, grab them by the scruff of the neck and go different directions. I think that's kind of what happened. But I love seeing it. It makes it interesting, doesn't it?
It does. And we've talked about this before when social media was much newer, or at least when teams started adopting a different approach to social media. And we were, as I recall, all in on it. Like, get out there, have some fun with it. It's social media. And at the end of the day, it's just a game. Have some fun.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And, you know, it's intense. I mean, these teams you watch the play on the ice. It's not exactly friendly all the way through. And these are big games and big events. So there's a lot of emotion involved. And sometimes when emotion boils over, yeah, I might regret the odd thing you say or do. And I think you see that from time to time on social media too, but it draws the fans in, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And I think there should be some license for, creativity on social media and a little bit of back and forth. You're the social media account managers. You're not out there on the ice. Let the players settle the rivalries on the ice and let the account managers have some fun off the ice and engage the fans, because I think anything that's drawing more attention to the games and the rivalries, the better. So again, I'm here for it. Was happy to see it. And what a great finish to Hockey Day in the Ontario Hockey League, with those two juggernauts in the West going at it in a very good hockey game. So we get to look at that and so many other stories this week. And just as we do get into that, Dan, we might have to, how do you feel about the state of Michigan as a place to live? Would you consider uprooting yourself from your beautiful estate in Kitchener and moving south of the border to the land of Donald Trump? Could I twist your arm into that? Because let me tell you, this podcast is big in Michigan, I've learned.
Well, you're not asking me to get political here, are you? So
no, I wouldn't do that to you.
So I'll keep it benign, and I'll just say that I've always had a really good relationship with Michigan in my life. I have relatives in Michigan. I have played hockey in Michigan. I've billeted in Port Huron. I've done all kinds of things in the state of Michigan. Soft spot for some of their pro teams. I'm a Detroit Lions fan. So to answer your question in general, I'm a big fan of Michigan, politics aside. How's that?
Well, Michigan is a big fan of you, apparently. So I traveled through Sault Ste. Marie, Flint, and Saginaw last week. And let me just run down quickly. John and Chris in the Sioux, couple of stone cold Sioux beauties. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for saying hi. John's actually got some street cred in this game, doing some play-by-play of his own, and it's pretty damn good, but loved meeting him. In Flint, Paul, whose office I just barged into because I was looking to have a door opened. I was there early. I'm like, wonder if there's anybody around that could unlock this door for me. And I walk in, he's like, Farwell, love the podcast. That was great. And then Les, before the game in Flint, came by to say hi, tell me how much he enjoys the work that we're doing. And then in Saginaw, people were shouting names in the concourse, not foul names or insults. It's like, hey, Farwell, love the podcast. So Rick, Brian, Carter, and Bob in Saginaw, and also the big bearded guy whose name I didn't ask for as I was on my way to the booth, and he was sitting in the stands and saying, hey, I heard about shocks and saves on the podcast. I came down from Ann Arbor today, Grand Rapids. I think it was Grand Rapids. Anyway, he came in just to see the shocks and saves and then hung around for the Spirit and Rangers. But really appreciate hearing from you on the road. Yeah. And anytime you want to check in, the touch points. But I think, Dan, Saginaw is the home of the OHL podcast, the unofficial home of the OHL podcast.
I'll take it. Michigan's got such a long history with hockey, and there's such hockey fans down there. They really know the game. They really support the game at all levels, which I appreciate. I mean, we don't even do that in Canada in some of our bigger markets. But no, I really appreciate that support, and shout out to all the guys who shouted us out. Thanks for the support.
Absolutely. We love it, and we love to hear from you anytime, either in person, on social media. Dan is at his name, Dan Mahar. I am at Farwell_OHL on X. You'll find us on Instagram, the OHL Podcast. Of course, on YouTube. Subscribe, tell a friend, etc., and send an email anytime, ohlpodcast@rogers.com. I think, Dan, the big story of this past week, something we all expected was going to be the outcome after the Erie Otters launched an internal investigation into the behavior of their head coach, Stan Butler. And a little less than 2 weeks after launching said investigation, they announced that Stan Butler had been fired. What say you?
Well, again, I'm not sure we're really that much further forward than we were last time we talked about this, right? Where information is scarce. Yes, you're left to draw some conclusions, right? So for a man of his legacy to be out, you have to assume it was relatively significant. What occurred. I would love for it to be cleared up in some fashion, but I guess if I'm looking for the silver lining here, you hate to see a team like Erie that was supposed to challenge this year go through this mid-season, and you don't want it to be a lost season when the most of your roster's on the older side of the ledger. Having said that, if there's a silver lining, it's that people are still held accountable if they're violating codes of conduct and team policies, and that there is someone looking out for this. So I think at the end of the day, there's a bright side here for those that participate in the league, that, you play by the rules or we will hold you accountable.
It's a good point on the state of the Erie Otters, considering the expectations coming in, right? So now they lose their owner suddenly with Jim Waters passing in December. They lose their best player, Matthew Schaefer, when he got injured at the World Junior Hockey Championship playing for Team Canada. And now they lose their head coach. What this means for the rest of the season, and if this impacts the Otters' opportunities to go a little bit further than the first round this year, that remains to be seen. But the scarcity of information around this is troubling a little bit for me from where I'm sitting. And I get it. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't, especially in the world where social media and people on the internet exist and can go and say what they want with impunity if they're behind an anonymous account or some anonymous handle, that sort of thing. But what happens is you don't give information, and then people run with something that they think might be the case. For example, there are a couple of black players on the Erie Otters. There's a player of Native American descent on the Erie Otters. You can draw that line pretty easily if you are inclined to do so. And so I think if I'm the Erie Otters, based on what we have heard or not heard in this case, they're basically thinking, well, this is going to sting for a while. We're going to let the internet run with its rumors, and then people are going to forget and move on because that's the way the news cycle works. And they're probably right. And that's why you're damned if you do. If you come out and you say what happened, the internet is still going to have its moment, and you're going to have to absorb that and deal with it, and then wait till the news cycle changes and move on. I would still rather the latter happened here and more information was shared. I've known Stan Butler for a long time in this league. I don't believe personally that any of the rumors online, and I'm sure most of us have seen them by now, I don't believe any of them are true at all. It is my understanding that what happened here is not all that dissimilar from what happened to Greg Walters in Owen Sound. The biggest difference in the two situations is that the league got involved in the incident in Owen Sound when it was basically employee on employee, right? Coach on another employee of the team. There was an altercation. Things were said that ought not be said. The league steps in and suspends Walters for the remainder of that season. And now Greg is back in the league and probably not happy that I'm talking about it because it's basically ancient history now. But I think the same thing could have, and I wish had happened in the Stan Butler case, because again, it's my understanding that it's not all that dissimilar from the Greg Walters situation. This was something kind of internal to the dynamics of the team with Stan Butler as the head coach. And I guess the head of that team then internally, if you will, there'd be a GM and a president and an HR department above Stan. But other than that, Stan's kind of setting the tone, let's say. And it wasn't a tone that the Otters organization was happy with. And here we are.
So that was part A of the OHL podcast. We'll let you listen into part B coming up in the second intermission. Right now, we are getting set for second period action between the Wolves and the Steelheads. You're listening to Wolves Hockey on 96.7 CKLU.
Did you know that your death has the power to save up to 8 lives? Right now in Ontario, over 1,500 people are waiting for a life-saving organ. Every 3 days, one of them dies waiting. The good news is that you can help. In just 2 minutes, you can register to be an organ donor and tissue donor and help save lives. Register today and join your fellow Canadians in becoming a donor nation. Together, we can all make a difference. Visit beadonor.ca to register or learn more.
Back inside the Sudbury Community Arena, Brian Cooper alongside Rick Wyman. As, yes, we are set to kick off second period action. All right, Rick. Keys to the second. I feel like it's pretty obvious if you're the Sudbury Wolves, but haven't focused a whole lot on the Steelheads. I mean, they came out flying. They had a couple lucky bounces their way as well. Keys to second period for either team.
Okay, kill off the penalty. For the most part, you got to kill off that Coughlin penalty. Let's just get back to basic hockey. Play your zone defensively. Don't be running around doing whatever. You've got too much confusion in the first. Now you've got Finn Marshall going in. for the second period, so that's a start. Let's just settle things down, work on getting the puck out to your forwards, let them take care of the rest. But defensively, I mean, not a very good period for the Wolves, so let's start there. And again, turnovers, it's bad enough you turn the puck over in the neutral zone. Don't do it in your own end or the offensive end as well. I mean, you got to get some shots on goal, some quality shots.
All right.
Very simple, just a couple. We're learning here as we go along. Let's keep it easy and perhaps get a goal or two.
One step at a time, as they say. Puck is dropped. Wolves win the face-off. They'll fire it deep into the Steelhead zone. And as Rick pointed out, yes, the Wolves are killing off a full penalty to kick off this second period. Steelheads, they're up 4-0. They dance their way into the Sudbury zone. Zidlicki over to McDonnell. McDonnell back to the blue line, but he misplays the puck, and a good read for Nick DeAngelis as he'll fire at the distance.
I like that Zidlicki with his puck handling skills, wearing number 17 for the Steelheads.
Steelheads take it back across the red line into Wolves territory, and a whistle on the play. Looks like offside was the official call.
A little bit of confusion out on the ice, so
we've had a couple confusing calls, I guess, back in the first period. A few that the referees mixed up together.
So they're going to draw right outside of the Wolves blue line. So Marshall trying to limber up just a bit, getting the call here in the second period.
Face off just outside of the Wolves zone, won by the Steelheads. Here's Zabeski. Zabeski around the Sudbury net. Wrap around, nice pad save for Finn Marshall, and Mason Zabeski. Oh boy, he nearly had that one tucked in, but the big left pad of Finn Marshall stopped that one from making it 5-0.
Well, he responded, and okay, he's got to get the feel of the puck. And again, Coop, it's not easy coming into a game in the second or third period, sitting on that bench and coming in cold.
Face off inside the Wolves zone. Nate Villeneuve unable to win the draw for Sudbury. Von Richter at the blue line. Cross ice feed. Steelheads moving around inside the Wolves zone. Again, they're on a power play for another minute, if not less. Big Vilma Ulrichsen. Ulrichsen, cross ice pass. Just barely keeping it inside the Wolves zone. Zabeski. Back to the blue line it goes. Held on to by the Steelheads. It goes around the Sudbury net. And Von Richter will pick it up. Shot comes, deflected in front of the Sudbury net. Ulrichsen is there. Imagine having to deal with that 6'6" presence in front of the Sudbury net. Ulrichsen, pass out in front, gets it over to Zabeski. Puck ends up back on the blue line to Von Richter. Von Richter doesn't want to shoot. He hands it off to Sova. Into the corner. Misa, pass out in front. Shot comes. Pad save. Rebound was there. 2 rebounds. Another shot. And it goes wide of the net, but the Steelheads will keep the puck inside the Wolves zone. Von Richter cycling it around back to the blue line. Sova to Misa. Shot comes high, and it missed the net. And that'll do it for this power play for the Steelheads.
Good job by the Wolves, and Marshall equal to the task.
Steelheads in their own zone. They get it at the red line. Zidlicki has his stick lifted, and Kieran Walton cycling it around. Walton coming into this game ranked 7th overall in the Ontario Hockey League when it comes to the standings. Quick up to Alex Ferran. Ferran around the Steelheads net, back to the blue line. DeAngelis will hang on. Nick DeAngelis, forward pass. Walton overskated the puck. Ferran tried to get a shot off right off the boards, and he fanned on it, so the puck eventually squirts back to the red line. Sudbury's on it again. Ferran to Walton. Walton doodling around Sova. Walton kind of blew a tire, and so here come the Steelheads the other way. Sherratt into the Wolves zone. Shot comes, and a good save gobbled up by Finn Marshall.
Okay, just playing the basics. Drop to your knees and make sure there's no rebound. Good save by Marshall. So still 4-0 after a couple of minutes, but no early second period letdown in terms of goals. Now it's up to the offense to start making things happen.
Face off inside the Wolves zone. Cohen for Sudbury cannot win the draw. It's won by the Steelheads. Fibbiger, pass around it goes. Picked up by Cohen, and look out, he overskated the puck, and he shakes his head side to side. Close call, as standing right in front was Patton, who actually opened up the scoring back in the first period, and Marshall had to be careful on that one too.
Can't afford to do that. They'll try the face-off again to Marshall's left.
This face-off won again by the Steelheads. Witkowski over to Smith. Smith around the Sudbury net. Cohen is on it for Sudbury. Along the boards, but the Steelheads will just barely keep it in. And Big Tajan Street threw a heavy hit on Fibiger. Steelheads move it around. Fibiger at the blue line. Waits. Gets a shot off. Rebound. Not available. Held on to again by Finn Marshall. So this line with Tajan Street, young Cohen, throwing a couple heavy hits to maybe get some sort of a spark.
Hey, throw it out there. See what the kids can do. And you know, maybe they can make something happen.
Another face-off coming inside the Wolves zone. McDonnell and Hudson Chitteroni to take the face-off this time. This face-off won again by the Steelheads. Harding will lob it around the Sudbury net. Leskivar first on it. Leskivar in along the boards. His stick is lifted by DeGene Tomaso. Steelheads again will just barely keep it inside the Wolves zone. At the blue line, Harding, shot comes, deflected wide into the corner. Harding again for the Steelheads. Pass out in front. Handed back to the blue line. Rakoff shot comes high and way wide. Eventually ends up on the blue line. Good pressure from the Steelheads right now. Pass out in front. Forehand, backhand, and a nice pad save for Finn Marshall. Steelheads are buzzing right now, turning it up on the momentum side of things. Martone, another shot comes and it's wide. Harding at the blue line. Wolves are stuck in their own ends. Steelheads are trying to capitalize on that one. Eventually the Wolves will fire at the distance. Icing not going to be called here. Shots 22-11, by the way, in favor of the Steelheads right now.
Ivan Kovic, relatively easy night.
Walden takes the puck into the Steelhead zone and tried to hand a pass back to Ferran, who is trailing the play. Ferran, cross ice feed, gets it to Muse. Shot up the goalpost. A rebound, and they score. Nate Villeneuve at the Wolves. They've got one.
Coop, what did I say? Throw pucks on the net. Off the iron on the first shot by Ferran. Villeneuve with the rebound, and he is certainly worthy of a goal considering he's had a couple of chances. So why not? Just throw him at Ivan Kovic. The guy's gone countless minutes without facing a shot, so maybe he's just not into it mentally, but take your chances. And now it's a 3-goal deficit. 1 goal at a time.
4-1. Nate Villeneuve, 26th of the season, and that is a big goal for Sudbury. And as Rick said, just 1 at a time. Steelheads at the center line. They give it up to Kieran Walton. Walton drops it for Villeneuve. Spinorama pass, and the Steelheads come back the other way. Brampton with a burst of speed, but the Wolves pick it up again. Alex Ferran, cross ice to Walton. In front, a shot off the goalpost. They came so close, it was nearly a 4-2 hockey game.
That was a beautiful setup.
Steelheads back the other way, pass out in front of the Sudbury net. Back and forth action. Wolves have it. DeAngelis to Villeneuve. Sudbury maybe sniffing. They can feel it. Alex Ferran to Villeneuve. Villeneuve over to Muse. Muse, forward pass that gets dumped into the Steelhead zone. Nate Villeneuve on the forecheck. 5.5 minutes gone in this second period already. Charrot and Villeneuve have a lengthy conversation. They eye each other down. Nothing more comes of that. Wolves inside the Steelhead zone. But it's Brampton eventually pushing it to the center line. Chase Coughlin turns it back, hands it off to Henderson. Shot comes from McCoy. High and way wide. Wolves pick it up at the blue line. Roberts' shot deflected just wide. The Wolves buzzing a little bit early in this second period. Back the other way come the Steelheads. Charrot dropping for Van Volsen, a shot purposely wide to the net. Steelheads will force it right back into their own zone. Finn Harding lobbing at the distance. Icing is going to be waved off here as Romano's the first man in. Ziliado though for Sudbury. Saucer dish to Coughlin. Coughlin pass out in front. Nice nearly finish for Rowan Henderson as the Steelheads push it back to the center line.
I like the pressure by the Wolves.
Great pressure. Line change coming now for sudbury. Steelheads inside their own end. They'll dish it to the center ice area and Trevor Odell is waiting for it for Sudbury. At the red line, Donovan McCoy. Dancing his way into the Steelhead zone. Hands it off to Street. Tajan Street, a shot comes, pad save. Street throws a hit on Harding. And the Steelheads get it out across the red line. Brampton needing a line change at the 7-minute mark already of this second period. We are just clicking along. Steelheads turn it back. McDonnell right around the Sudbury net. Rakoff takes a heavy hit inside the Wolves zone by Odell, but gets the play made nonetheless. Wolves are going to fire at the distance all the way it goes, and this will be an icing call against Sudbury with 12:38 to go.
Well, the Wolves have come back to life, and that's a good sign for Sudbury. Finn Marshall making some clutch saves early in the period here, and again, that goal by Villeneuve has managed to give the Wolves a new life. 4-1 with 12:38 to go here in period number 2. Sudbury and the Steelheads. Let's check and see what's going on out of town right now elsewhere in the OHL while we have a break. 67's leading Peterborough by a score of 2-0 just past the midway mark of the second period. Still no score between Niagara and Erie. It's Sarnia 2, Guelph no score. And Saginaw leading the Sioux Greyhounds by a score of 2-0 early in the second period.
Wanted to mention Henry Muse picks up the primary assist on that Villeneuve goal, which means Muse is now on a 10-game point streak for Sudbury. And Alex Ferran, your guy, picks up the secondary assist on that Villeneuve goal. Face-off inside the Steelhead zone, and it's won by Sudbury, but Tajan Street put it over the glass. Is it enough for a delay of game penalty? He took one of those back in the first period. Doesn't look like it's going to be a penalty. I believe it was deflected.
So you mentioned Ferran being my guy. I see the guy in spurts, works hard, consistency is hard to come by for him this season, but there's no better time than now to get it going.
Face off inside the Wolves zone. Draws one by the Wolves. DeAngelis takes it around the Sudbury net. Quick up to Walton, who can't hang on. Von Richter takes a shot, and it deflects into the far corner. Muse is on it now for Sudbury. Puck deflects straight up. Muse goes for his skate. Gets it up to Ferran. Ferran to Walton. Walton bats it into the Steelhead zone, but it'll be stopped and pushed back to the center line. Into Wolves territory eventually, and DeAngelis with a burst of speed. Nick DeAngelis forward pass to Ferran. Alex Ferran, the hometown kid, takes a shot, but his stick is lifted last second. Steelheads will pick up the loose puck. Martone to McDonnell. Martone a shot, purposely wide, and it's picked up by Sudbury's Ferran. Ferran to burst of speed over to Walton. Walton a shot, deflected into the far corner. Ferran a blind pass, picked up by DeAngelis at the blue line. Henry Muse, another shot, deflected. Just in behind the Steelheads net. Villeneuve along the boards, back to Muse. Muse, another shot, deflected into the mesh. And out of play, and Muse, a little bit of frustration heard from him from where we are.
Just a bit, just a bit. That play, of course, knocked out, puck knocked out of the playing surface on a deflection, so the face-off to the left of Ivan Kovic. So Wolves trying to muster some offense here. They've got 14 shots on goal, looking for goal number 2.
Face-off inside the Steelhead zone, and it's won by Brampton. They'll cycle it around at the 9-minute mark almost of this second period. Again, 4-1 for Brampton. Zabeski keeps it in. Shot comes inside the Wolves zone. Marshall not needing to make a save. Steelheads are on it. Big Vilma Ulrichsen being worked on by McCoy. Does a good job. Shot comes off the outside of the Sudbury net. Steelheads are on it. Pushing and shoving to the side of the Wolves net. Steelheads bench calling for a penalty. They will not have their wish granted. Wolves come back the other way. Coughlin, shot comes. Glove save for Ivan Kovic. Bodies flying around everywhere. Leskivar and Coughlin. They continue to have a conversation. Steelheads come back, and Ulrichsen sending Noah Roberts flying. Right now, Chase Coughlin and Leskivar are tangled up with their sticks. Finally, they get separated.
Can we get the video?
Back into the Wolves zone is Noah Roberts picking up the loose puck. But good pressure right away from the Steelheads, almost at the halfway mark of the second period. Dax Klinkhammer takes a hit in along the boards from Sherratt. Sherratt keeps it into the Wolves zone, but Blonda will find it off the boards to the center ice area, picked up by Ulrichsen. Ulrichsen all the way in, picked up by Roberts. Roberts of Sudbury. Over to Blonda, who loves to skate with the puck. Luca Blonda takes it around the Steelheads net. Blonda being worked on by Smith. Blonda back to the blue line. Sherratt as the Steelheads exit their zone. Burst of speed. Zidlicki passed out in front, picked off by DeGian Tommaso. 9.5 left in the second period. DeGian Tommaso chipping the puck deep into the Steelhead zone. Wolves are on it, but not for long. Steelheads come back, a potential 2-on-1 rush. Shot comes wide of the net. Wolves push it into the corner. Wolves punch it right back into the corner again. Along the boards will be Cohen. Cohen to the center line, and Von Richter all the way back for Brampton. Brampton looking for a line change, so they'll chip it in again. Pace has certainly picked up in this second period, that's for sure. Some heavy hits, a lot of back and forth action. Here's Richmond for the Steelheads. Shot comes and it's wide. Von Richter will pick it up, pass out in front, rebound. Found by DeAngelis of Sudbury. DeAngelis sends his man flying with 8.5 minutes to go in the second period. Play continues. Muse in front of the Sudbury net. Saucer dish for Molnar. Andre Molnar to Street. Street gets a shot off. Easy glove save for Jack Ivankovic. As a little bit of pushing and shoving happens after the fact, but nothing too crazy.
Street made that too easy for Ivankovic. I mean, Street's got to chase that net down and get in closer, pick his corner, but then again, he plays sparingly, doesn't get a lot of great scoring opportunities, and that'll come eventually. But again, getting that puck on the net, sure thing. Make Ivankovic work for it.
Face off inside the Steelhead zone, 4-1 in favor of Brampton. All 4 of their goals came in the first period, and they came in a hurry. Face off inside the Steelhead zone, and it's won by Sudbury. Roberts decides to take it all the way back to the center line. Eventually up to Villeneuve. Villeneuve to Walton. Walton a shot off, deflected wide into the corner. Martone will squeak it out of the Steelhead zone, but picking it up is Odell. Odell for Sudbury. Lobbing it around the Steelhead's net. On the forecheck first is Walton. Walton for Hudson Chitteroni. Pass out in front, and a good read for Ivankovic, who put his paddle down and stopped the pass from coming out in front of the net. Steelheads, 7:45 left in the second period. Shot comes, deflected high and way wide. That was Carson Rakoff with the shot. Around the Sudbury net it goes. Another pass, the feed intended for Rakoff, and the Wolves. Walton will fire it into the Steelhead zone. Icing waved off as Nate Villeneuve is sent flying into the far boards by Lescavar. And look out, Lescavar going to get a lot of attention from the Sudbury bench right now as Villeneuve is checking himself out. And there's a wrestling match happening in front of the the Steelheads net.
Yeah, Villeneuve hit the pine pretty hard coming in. I don't know if his head, if he bumped his head along the glass. Not a good hit, but again, Steelheads will get the penalty for that. No regard there for Villeneuve's safety, but there's the penalty. So we got Chitteroni and...
Do you think they'll have a look at it further to see if it's more of a major penalty? Hudson Chitteroni in the box for Sudbury, because there was quite a bit of rough stuff from... It was basically every Wolves player that was on the ice converged around Lescavar after that hit.
I think Lescavar may get the additional time here. We'll have to wait and see what comes up on the clock, but I didn't like it, but Villeneuve really didn't like it, so hope he's okay. No worse for wear.
And he kind of had a sense that the tensions were starting to kind of build a little bit here in the second period. Some heavy hits were being thrown. They're looking at the replay right now on the Wolves bench. I know everybody's wondering, is this going to be a major? Right now, they do have a 5-minute major on the board for Leskovar.
Well, anytime a team is trailing 4-1 in their own barn, guys want to get physical and at least let the Steelheads know that, yeah, you're beating us on the scoreboard, but we're going to start taking matters into our own hands. Unfortunately for Villeneuve, he was at the wrong end of that hit.
And so it looks like the tablet is going to be put away. Oh, maybe not yet. The helmets have come off, which means it might be a bit more of a lengthy conversation here. 7.5 minutes left in the second period. And I'm trying to keep an eye as to where Nate Villeneuve is right now. He's on the Wolves bench, being checked out by the fantastic crews of the Sudbury Wolves. Zach Sellier is there, looking at Villeneuve. And you know, Nate Villeneuve is one tough cookie. And when he goes down in a heap like that, you know it is a hard and uncomfortable hit.
Took his time getting up, and he was checking himself over, so, you know, didn't look good initially. Hopefully he's okay.
They just showed a replay on the Jumbotron here at the Sudbury Arena. Still a 5-minute major for Leskovar on the board. Curious to see what this call is going to be. And this is where you need your off-ice officials to really take a look.
Yeah, there's Ryan Love and Pete Forte up in the box. Take a look, and they'll talk to Toronto about this as well.
Phones being put away, tablets being put away. Looks like we'll have an official call here in a second. Now they're on the phone.
So Chitteroni will get at least a minor for getting into the fray.
Because again, as soon as that hit happened, Leskovar, it was like he knew it was coming. And every single Wolves player that was on the ice went after Leskovar. And as you mentioned, Chitteroni is the penalized skater for Sudbury.
Well, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to back up your guys. And we've seen situations sometimes where players get hit in the NHL, even junior hockey. In some cases, no one rushes to their teammates' defense, and not a good sign, but the guys were quick to acknowledge that that's not happening to our man Villeneuve, so.
Well, fans are still having a good time here at the Sudbury Community Arena as well, as they always do. Fans in Sudbury always have the best time ever, and this is a lengthy review now. Again, 7.5 left officially in the second period.
We were making good time here in the second period, but
we were.
That's changed.
We were tracking ahead of the winter storm, Rick, and it's catching up. The storm is catching up to us. But again, they want to make sure they get this call right. And if this ends up being a 5-minute power play for Sudbury, I mean, obviously Chitteroni's in the box, so it'll be probably 4-on-4 for a couple of minutes. And then maybe a 3-minute power play if it is a 5-minute major. It's a big opportunity for Sudbury. Get something rolling.
Like I've said before, and I'll say it again tonight, I don't mind video reviews. They shouldn't have to be this long. I mean, you've got the fans, kids, people just wondering what's going on. You can only play Sweet Caroline so many times to pacify the audience, but
it was an interesting sequence as Henry Muse was having an ongoing conversation with Steelheads goaltender Ivan Kovic. I'm not sure what they were talking about, but Muse had a bit of a smirk on his face. They were going back and forth a few times. And then all of a sudden, over from the Steelheads bench comes Parker Von Richter and stands directly in front of Ivan Kovic. Maybe as a little notion to say, please don't talk to my goaltender.
Well, this could go back. I mean, we don't know the backgrounds of Ivan Kovic and Muse in terms of minor hockey, but maybe there's something there that goes back. So, and players do that. They like to play the mind games with their opponents at times. So, hey.
Well, it looks like, the tablet looked like it was put away, and now they've pulled it back out again. The phone has come out again, and everybody's wondering, okay, what's going on here? I know there was a hot dog eating contest that happened just a few minutes ago. I don't think they're reviewing the hot dog eating contest.
No.
But man, those hot dogs look good. It is Weenie Wednesday after all.
I don't know what your wife would say if you told her that you managed to devour 3 to 5 hot dogs at the hockey game.
No, I don't know what she would say either. I mean, in my radio career, I've done some crazy things. The craziest was eating a blueberry pie in under 3 minutes with no hands. Okay, it looks like we are set to continue. There is still a 5-minute major on the board. And the door for Leskovar is opening.
So is he getting
the boot, or is it a 10-minute major?
Well, the majors are 5, so not unless he's being given a game misconduct for intent to injure.
So Leskovar appears to be done. 5-minute major is on the board. Filling the penalty for him will be the one who scored very first tonight, Troy Patton.
Well, that took long enough.
And again, Chitteroni is in the box for Sudbury, waiting to see an official penalty on the board for him. But there are 5 skaters on the ice for Sudbury, so it looks like it's going to be a power play for Sudbury after all this being said and done. Face-off will come inside the Steelhead zone. It is a power play for Sudbury for 5 minutes. Big opportunity for the Wolves. Face-off is won by the Steelheads and cleared out all the way back into Wolves territory.
So there's probably a minor and a minor to Chitteroni that will just wash each other out. So that's why the Wolves have the 5-minute major to their advantage.
Wolves inside their own zone. DeAngelis to Walton, who dances off across the red line. And Kieran Walton not able to maintain the zone, and so the Steelheads punch it right back in. DeAngelis for Sudbury. Backhand pass to Walton. Walton at the red line, Ferran. Ferran back to Walton. Walton, a shot that was intended to go into the Steelhead zone. It does. First on it is big man Connor Smith, an Anaheim Ducks prospect, and he is a big man on the back end for the Steelheads. Wolves finally set up on the power play. DeAngelis at the blue line to Walton. And believe it or not, the first minute of the power play is done, and the Wolves unable to keep the puck inside the zone, and the Steelheads will clear.
So Leskovar got a boarding, 5-minute major, and a game misconduct. And Chitteroni and Leskovar also got offsetting 2-minute minors, so that's why the Wolves are on the power play with 3.5 minutes to go.
Inside the Steelhead zone, Wolves trying to get set up here at the least, and right now they do. Tajan Street getting an opportunity on the power play. Shot comes from McCoy. It's deflected off a stick into the mesh and out of play. And just like that, 1.5 minutes is gone in this power play.
So it's boarding to Leskovar and a game misconduct. So referees deemed it intent. He's gone. That's why the Wolves, with 3:25 left in the 5-minute major, are on the power play.
Face off inside the Steelhead zone, won by Sudbury. Set up on the power play. McCoy at the blue line. Donovan McCoy to Villeneuve. Molnar back to McCoy. Wrister comes, deflected. Rebound. They score! Tajan Street, and it's a power play goal.
Street lighting it up after a couple of big hits in this game. So Street narrows the gap to 2 goals. And Coop, like we said, one goal at a time. Now it's 4-2.
Just his second goal of the season. Tajan Street standing in front of the net. Rebound was there. Backhander between the legs of Jack Ivankovic, and it is now 4-2. And the Wolves still on the power play.
So that eliminates that rough start in the first period now. Still plenty of time to make this a game. 5:44 to go. Second period. 4-2 Steelheads.
Face off at the center dot, won by Sudbury. All smiles on the Wolves bench after your guy Tajan Street scores a power play goal. Villeneuve back to the center dot. Andre Molnar. Molnar wires it around the Steelheads net. Picking it up is Smith. And he will try and lob it out. But the Wolves force the puck. Molnar back to the blue line. McCoy picks it up. Donovan McCoy to Molnar. Molnar, McCoy, shot comes, deflected wide. Villeneuve at the side. Back to the blue line. McCoy. Up to Molnar. Molnar. Villeneuve shot comes. Glove save for Ivankovic. Tajan Street stays out there on the power play, trying to occupy some space in front of the Steelheads net. McCoy at the blue line to Molnar. Molnar misplays the puck, and the Steelheads will exit the zone.
Molnar's got to be better with the puck on that power play situation. The Wolves had the momentum. You also get a line change out of it, but, you know, you've got something going here.
Well, Wolves are inside their own zone. Kieran Walton across the red line. Forward pass broken up. Short-handed opportunity for Witkowski. Taken down by McCoy. And it's going to be a penalty shot.
Yep.
I feel like that's the right call in this situation.
I can't argue with that.
It was a clear-cut breakaway. McCoy took Witkowski down. And referee, with no hesitation, pointed to center ice to say that is going to be a penalty shot.
It's the most exciting hockey play we've got going tonight, the penalty shot. One-on-one.
Kieran Witkowski looking to get his 10th of the season. Here he comes. A penalty shot. Witkowski, and he scores. Backhand, forehands, and he beats Finn Marshall, and that will be a shorty.
A nice deke. Threw it upstairs as Marshall moved to his right. Good hockey play, and it's a 5-2 game in favor of the Steelheads.
Face off, won by Sudbury as play continues. 4:20 to go in this second period. As Rick said, Wolves down by 3. They got one back. And then a penalty shot. Puck goes over the glass now.
We've seen a little bit of really everything tonight. Couple of penalties declared, puck over the glass, penalty shot. You know, 5-minute major power play situation. So again, little bit of this, little bit of that. It's a 5-2 game. Late in the second here in Sudbury.
Face off inside the Steelhead zone, won by Sudbury. On a power play still for another minute and a half. Shot comes, rebound, and they score. Nate Villeneuve gets his second of the night, and it's 5-3.
So Villeneuve recovers after that hit. Manages to get the puck barely by Ivankovic, and it's a 2-goal deficit once again.
What a crazy period.
Well, Ivankovic made the initial save. Villeneuve managed to get his stick on it, pulled it back, went around Ivankovic. Now we got a game again.
And the Wolves remain on the power play for another minute 34. Back-to-back power play goals for Sudbury. First, Tajan Street, and now Nate Villeneuve, his 27th of the season. Second of the game. Wolves inside their own zone. DeAngelis drop pass to Walton. Walton with a burst of speed. Cuts through the center ice area. Taken down, tripped up. Steelheads will get it to the neutral zone. Short-handed opportunity for Zidlicki. Zidlicki, nice move to himself. Gets a shot off, and it's deflected by Henry Muse off to the races. Muse into the Steelhead zone. Villeneuve, a shot comes high and wide. Villeneuve will wait. He'll shoot. Glove save for Ivan Kovic. Villeneuve back to the blue line. Nate Villeneuve to Muse. Cross ice pass to Walton. Walton in the corner to Muse. Shot comes. Pad save for Ivan Kovic. DeAngelis looks for Muse at the blue line. DeAngelis to Walton. Walton in the corner. Pass out in front. Muse had a one-time opportunity, and it's picked up by the glove of Jack Ivan Kovic.
That went off a stick, popped up, and Ivan Kovic made the save. The only problem with Muse on that scoring opportunity is that Ivan Kovic kind of covered the upper corner with his shoulder, but good effort there. Again, get some pucks on the net. You got the guys that are banging around. Villeneuve, Street, as we've seen so far, so keep it up.
Well, power play has about 30 seconds left. The faceoff is won by the Steelheads, and they'll just punch it back into the Wolves zone. So DeAngelis will get it started for Sudbury. Kieran Walton all the way back, nearly coughed up the puck. Wolves hemmed, and the Steelheads with a steal inside Wolves territory, and a good play there by Porter Martone to put it right back into the Steelhead zone. And this will pretty much do it for the Sudbury power play. They did get a couple power play goals. Wolves will find possession again, and they'll break out with a burst of speed. Muse into the Steelhead zone. Pass out in front. Wolves on the forecheck. Here's Walton. Shot comes. Stick save. Rebound is there. Steelheads get it up to the center ice area. 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in this second period. 5-3 in favor of Brampton. Feels like a brand new hockey game. Wolves putting the pressure on now. Deep inside the Steelhead zone. Heavy pressure. Brampton's captain, Martone, will clear it out. Andre Molnar runs into a Steelhead skater, and Rakoff, who can really do some magic, has the puck deep inside the Wolves zone. Rakoff is run into by Donovan McCoy, the captain of the Wolves. Here are the Steelheads. Another shot. Stick save made by Finn Marshall. Wolves put it to the center ice area. Final minute and a half of the second period. Wolves maintain possession inside the Steelhead zone. A little backhand pass. Chase Coughlin looking for the loose puck. But it's the Steelheads as we approach the final minute of play in the second period, putting it to the center ice area. Misa, burst of speed, pass out in front looking for Rakoff. Couldn't find the back of the net. Puck goes into the Steelheads bench. And with a minute 4, we'll have another TV timeout here.
Well, the Wolves have had a good period. They've outscored Steelheads 3-1, trailed by 2, 5-3. So third period will be real interesting, my friend. Looking forward to seeing the Wolves continue with the momentum that they've showed here in the last 10 minutes or so, taking it to the Steelheads. And Coop, you just never know in this game sometimes. You'll be surprised. Teams can come from behind, and that would certainly set the scene for a pretty interesting road trip. Flint, Saginaw, and Guelph this weekend for the Wolves, so might as well start it at home.
Well, face-off will come inside the Steelhead zone, approaching the final minute of play in the second period. Brian Cooper alongside Rick Wyman. Want to give a shout out to our pal Rob Strong back at the CKLU studio, pushing all the buttons as he is also expecting this winter storm to arrive. In fact, it might already be snowing in some parts of Sudbury.
We can't see from where we are located. We'll have to check it out.
Face off inside the Wolves zone, won by the Steelheads. They get a shot off and it's wide. Wolves will just clear it. Speedy Rowan Henderson takes the puck all the way down to the Steelhead zone. Final minute of play officially. Brampton, they take the puck in front of their own net, and now they'll cycle it around their net to clean things up a bit. Von Richter breaks out of the zone. He'll hand it off to Witkowski. Shot comes, deflected just wide. And Zabeski will leave it into the corner inside the Wolves zone. Sherratt to Van Volsen. Van Volsen around the Sudbury net, and Ziliato will be held on to by Sherratt, but he gets the job done. Puck to the center ice area. Steelheads punch it right back into the Wolves zone. Final 10 seconds of play in the second period. Wolves maybe one more opportunity. Henderson cross ice pass for Cohen. Cohen cannot keep the zone, and you're going to hear the buzzer any second now. One final hit there from Martone. And no further exchange happens after that play between Martone and DeAngelis.
Okay, this is where we stand after 40 minutes, 5-3 in favor of the Steelheads. Wolves come back with 3 goals in that period. Make it interesting, to say the least. Penalty shot was the lone goal by the Steelheads. So again, I like that period a lot better than the first. I've got to admit that. We're not holding back on anything here tonight, but much better for the Wolves in terms of getting on track and getting some offensive, chances. Even the shots on goal are somewhat indicative. I think the Wolves had, 11 in the first period. Now they've got 22, but much better scoring opportunities. So, hey, don't go away. This game is far from being over. It's 5-3 after 40.
All right, Rick and I will step out. When we return, we'll check your out-of-town scoreboard. There are a few other games happening in the OHL. And then we'll let you listen to Part B of the OHL podcast. You're listening to Wolves Hockey on 96.7 CKLU. After 2 periods of play, it's 5 for the Steelheads and 3 for Sudbury.
Donations to the War Amps have a lasting impact on amputees. Today, your support gives them the artificial limbs and resources they need for everyday activities and learning to live with amputation. Having access to our essential programs helps amputees prepare for tomorrow on their road to independence. The War Amps is committed to improving the quality of life for Canadian amputees, but this wouldn't be possible without you. To learn how your donation helps, visit waramps.ca.
My name is John Janak. I was a local firefighter for 34 years. Carbon monoxide killed my niece Lori Hawkins and her entire family in Woodstock. They did not have a carbon monoxide alarm. In their honor, the Ontario government passed a law making CO alarms mandatory for all homes with an attached garage, fireplace, gas appliances, or heating system. Please protect your family today by installing a carbon monoxide alarm.
Did you know that your death has the power to save up to 8 lives? Right now in Ontario, over 1,500 people are waiting for a life-saving organ. Every 3 days, one of them dies waiting. The good news is that you can help. In just 2 minutes, you can register to be an organ donor and tissue donor and help save lives. Register today and join your fellow Canadians in becoming a donor nation. Together, we can all make a difference. Visit beadonor.ca to register or learn more.
Did you know that community radio stations in Canada broadcast in more than 65 different languages? This is where stories come alive and where we come together. But as big international media dominates the spotlight, local news and local voices struggle to be heard. Our government must help these local stations continue to do what they do best, serve the unique needs of our communities. We're asking you to go support the Community Radio Initiative at mycri.ca. Stand with us for community radio future.
You're listening to Sudbury Student and Community Radio Station, CKLU 96.7 FM, and streaming live at cklu.ca.
Welcome back inside the Sudbury Community Arena. Brian Cooper alongside Rick Wyman. A few other games happening in the OHL tonight, Mr. Rick.
Including hot dog eating. Someone has consumed 14 hot dogs.
Yep.
And 2 others have consumed 12 apiece. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think you've got some work to do. 67's leading Peterborough by a score of 2-0 after 40. It's Erie 1-0 over Niagara after 40 in Erie. Sarnia 3, Guelph 1 late in the second. And the Sioux trailing Saginaw by a score of 2-1 after 40 minutes of play. And of course, you're just dying to know the score.
Four Nations face-off,
Four Nations face-off. It is 1-0 Canada. Just past the midway mark of period number 1. My man, Nathan McKinnon, power play goal. Assisted by Crosby and McDavid. Of course, we knew that line would do some serious damage.
Isn't that just bonkers to say that those 3 are on a line together? A goal from McKinnon assisted by Crosby and McDavid. That is so bizarre.
And oddly enough, Canada only has 5 shots on goal, but Sweden has yet to register a shot.
Wow. Wow,
and that's halfway through the period.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, here at the Sudbury Arena, shots are 26 for the Steelheads, 22 for Sudbury. Again, 5-3 after 2 periods of play. Right now, we'll let you listen to Part B of the OHL podcast hosted by our pal Mark Farwell of the Kitchener Rangers. You can find this podcast anytime on YouTube. You're listening to Wolves Hockey on 96.7 CKLU.
This is the standard the Erie Otters hold people to, and by extension, then you might think other teams would say, you know what, we should also strive for that standard. We should also set the bar in the same place. But unfortunately, here we are.
Yeah, very well said, Mike. Not much to add other than, yeah, the rumor mill was churning at full speed on this one, and I'm glad to hear that it may not have been anything related to the ratio. I'd like to think we're better than that at this point. I sure hope we are in terms of who we're bringing into the league. But yeah, there are some old school beliefs in how things should be run and how things are done, and that doesn't always fly these days. And I think the quicker we adapt, the better. And it's not getting soft, it's just getting human. And this is a league full of humans, and I think we have to consider that at all times, especially when they're teenagers. And staff have to have a certain expectation of how to be treated. And I think, yeah, you're right, Mike, to share some of this information, it works on a lot of levels. You have some responsibility to your fans and those who support you to explain what went on, to potential recruits, etc. And even just to send a message to others who may consider operating a certain way that, no, this doesn't fly. So it's not carte blanche behind the closed doors. So I think there's a lot of positive that can come from these stories too, Mike. And I think sharing some of that information goes a long way there. But who am I?
I hope it's not a case of, and that I think this would have been one of the accusations if more was known. Oh, here we go. It's a woke league. It's a woke organization. We have gone soft. I'm as old school as the next guy. And I do think, and we talked about this last year, I remember doing a Fridays with Farwell video about it. And by the way, shameless plug, if you haven't checked out Fridays with Farwell, it appears on the YouTube channel every Friday with me, because my name's Farwell. But anyway, I talked about this very thing where we just have to, I think, develop or remember that our skin is thick enough, and the whole sticks and stones sort of idea. There is absolutely a limit, and the limit's probably different than it used to be. But I hope that there are still ways that we can hold one another to account, especially in a results-oriented business, because that's what this is all about. And if you're the leader of that organization, you have to set the standard for wins and losses, and people have to be accountable to achieving those goals. And I guess it all comes down to how you motivate people to achieve those goals. But anyway, we'll just leave it there. I'm as old school as the next guy, and maybe I've got some evolution to do or evolving to do myself. But let's dive into the inbox this week, because got a couple of interesting questions. This one coming from Zach, who says, love the podcast and the information you guys provide. Keep up the good work. Question about the rosters for the expansion teams. If Muskegon and Youngstown were to join the league next year or the year after or whenever, how would their rosters be constructed? Would there be some sort of expansion draft? Would they sign a bunch of unsigned players? How exactly would they construct their teams? Zach, it's a great question, one I've heard a few times along the way. And it is my understanding at this point that the USHL teams, Muskegon, Youngstown, would simply be absorbed by the Ontario Hockey League as is. Would they get maybe some priority in the priority selection, the OHL draft? Probably. Same for the import draft? Probably. But you're basically going to take a USHL roster that exists today and absorb it into the Ontario Hockey League. I don't think there's any appetite, at least none that I've heard yet, for an expansion draft to happen when expansion occurs, which is likely, I think, at this point, going to be the 26-27 season.
Yeah, Mike, that's good information. I think that's exactly how it would have to happen. I think people think of this expansion the same way they would have about a pro league like the NHL or somewhere where they have some of these guidelines in their CBAs. Very different with junior hockey. You have players that have signed their agreements with a specific franchise. They have trade protection. In most cases, probably about 3/4 of the league have trade protection. So you can't just say, 17-year-old, you're moving to this city. I'm not sure you agreed to that. So there's a lot of different factors at play here. So I think you hit the nail on the head, Mike, when you said what the league could control is giving them a little bit of favoritism in their own draft, bumping into the headline on the import draft, maybe for the OHL's turn, those types of things. But yeah, you wouldn't see, we're selecting players A, B, and C off this roster.
Jason has a question also sent in to OHL podcast at Rogers.com. Jason from St. Catharines. I love when you identify where you're listening from. Love to get to know where the markets are that you're tuning in. And Jason would love us to rank the OHL arenas and hear some pros and cons of them. Jason, appreciate that email. I'm still on the clock really for ranking the scout and media rooms in the OHL, which I kind of did last year. I've been getting some heat for it. I want to do better. I want to bring you inside maybe with some photo and video, but a ranking of all 20 arenas and pros and cons of is a rather, if I'm going to do it right, if we're going to do it right, it would be a bit of an undertaking. So if you'll forgive not all 20 right now, I thought Dan and I could maybe share our favorite from our perspective. And I'm not sure, Dan, you've been to every arena yet, but you take first crack at this.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try and do my condensed version, then maybe do it properly later, like you said, Mike. So I'm just going to name a couple in no particular order that I really enjoy for a lot of reasons. Won't throw any teams under the bus. Obviously, I'm a homer, but I like the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Doesn't get better than that in terms of fan experience, sight lines, atmosphere, etc. I'll leave it at that. That's pretty self-explanatory. In terms of ones I've traveled to, can I still suck up to Michigan a bit here, Mike?
Of course. In fact, you should, because Michigan, the entire state, is listening right now.
I really enjoyed both of Saginaw and Flint in terms of the fan experience, the sight lines, the size of the rink, atmosphere, the intelligence of the fans, all those things. I really enjoyed the perspective there. And then Kingston, I'm a fan of Kingston as well. I wish that building was more full at more times, but again, sight lines, amenities, the concourse, so a lot of these rinks have the concourse. You can't go all the way around. There's sort of suite levels that block the tour around. So that impacts a lot of these arenas, including Kingston, but the location within the city, neighboring amenities, restaurants, etc. All those things, I found Kingston right near the top of my list. There's a few others. I enjoy Sudbury for old school reasons. And there's a lot of rinks I've enjoyed, Mike, but those are the ones that kind of jump to mind as kind of being a cut above. How about you?
Yeah, Sudbury is up there for me too in terms of the old school aspect of it. You love the wooden slats in the ceiling. You love the portrait of the Queen. I feel similarly about Kingston. The big difference, Jason, for me is I come at this from a different perspective, being sort of behind the scenes and in the press areas or the media areas, whereas Dan and most people listening would be experiencing this from a fan's perspective. So if we were to do this, and again, thinking of doing it right, I would want to bring it to you from the fan's perspective, which I don't have. I look for creature comforts. I always hope for, a cup of coffee, relatively warm, and maybe a small bite to eat, a piece of pizza or something, but a place to get that and begin making notes and doing preparation for my broadcast. And then a press box that allows me the space to do the work effectively. It doesn't have to be a palace by any stretch, but it's helpful when there's enough room to get stuff done. Kingston checks all of those boxes, and the sight line too. There are a number actually of arenas where we find ourselves at a blue line or inside a zone, which makes it really tough to see the other end of the ice. And if we're going to do an effective broadcast, the closer we are to center, the better. So again, that's the perspective I see virtually every rink from. I don't get a chance to sit in the seats. I remember, because being a Kitchener boy, I'm a bit biased as well. And let's face it, the Memorial Auditorium is a cathedral when it comes to hockey arenas. Like it doesn't have modern touches at all, but for a 70-plus-year-old rink, she looks great. And you're in a hockey arena when you're in there. Some of the newer ones feel a little bit more cookie cutter, although they're offering more creature comforts. And I remember going to a concert at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, and I was sitting down in the stands, and I thought, oh my gosh, how do people do this for hockey games? Because those seats are not exactly spacious and the most comfortable. No offense, Kitchener, my hometown, but it is what it is with an arena of that age. Anyway, I will also add to what Dan said. I'm going to put Kingston down as one of my favorite spots. because it offers all of those things. And Jimmy Gilchrist is there, who's called 3,000 games in this league, which is great. But it gives me great sight lines, gives me just the right amount of space to do my work, and they usually, make sure there's a pretty good bite to eat before you get on the air. So very helpful all around there. But we will revisit this, Jason. Appreciate the email and come back and do something a little bit more formal. I think it's worthwhile for this league, because as Dan and I will attest, we believe certainly it to be a league very much worth taking in, whether it's in your hometown or going as a visitor somewhere else. It's a terrific brand of hockey, and I think it's really having a moment this year with the way things are going.
Some good conversation, and you can listen to the rest of that chat on the OHL podcast. You'll find it anytime on YouTube. 5-3 inside the second intermission. You're listening to Wolves Hockey on 96.7 CKLU.
Did you know that your death has the power to save up to 8 lives? Right now in Ontario, over 1,500 people are waiting for a life-saving organ. Every 3 days, one of them dies waiting. The good news is that you can help. In just 2 minutes, you can register to be an organ donor and tissue donor and help save lives. Register today and join your fellow Canadians in becoming a donor nation. Together, we can all make a difference. Visit beadonor.ca to register or learn more.
Back inside the Sudbury Community Arena, Brian Cooper alongside Rick Wyman as everybody in Sudbury is getting set for what's supposed to be a decent winter storm overnight. Looks like, according to my phone anyways, looks like the snow could be done by 7 a.m., but some heavy amounts within just a few hours. Rick, it was an interesting conversation on the OHL podcast in our second intermission. Mike and his co-host were talking about their favorite arenas in the Ontario Hockey League. Many moons ago, you traveled with, you did some traveling as well. Do you have any favorite arenas that you just love to travel to?
I really like the old Windsor Arena.
Yeah.
The guys, because with the Wolves, when we travel, we'd always get to a city, set up the gear, so I hung out with the trainers at the time. Hamlin and Rick was Hamlin Smith and Rick Marcotte. So we get to know the other trainers, and we get the tour of the dressing rooms and, some of the stories about some of the teams that we were visiting that time. Windsor was good. Kitchener Auditorium, I guess, was based on Maple Leaf Gardens many, many years ago. And I always thought that was an interesting venue to broadcast from. And I had, managed to see the nooks and crannies of that rink. That kind of stood out. Of course, one of my favorites happened to be in Ottawa, because I'm from Ottawa originally, was the Ottawa Civic Center, where Senators played, 67's. It's called, TD Place now type thing. So I knew that arena back in 67 as a kid, going to see the first ever game there between Montreal, the Montreal Canadiens, and the 67. So that was kind of special. So those were probably my 3 favorites, in addition to the odd game at the old Maple Leaf Gardens after the Leafs had left. I mean, what can you say about Maple Leaf Gardens? I was enamored with the history, the pictures, and just the vibe in the rink at the time.
It's a good conversation piece, that's for sure. All right, we are set for third period action here at the Sudbury Community Arena. Glad to have you hanging out. By the way, 2-0 Canada over Sweden.
Okay.
And Brad Marchand has scored for Team Canada. Leafs fans are going to find it awfully hard to cheer for that man. We'll just leave it at that. But here at the Sudbury Barn, Steelheads are inside the Wolves zone. They get an early shot. Easy stick save for Finn Marshall. Around the Sudbury net it goes, Jakob Fibiger. He'll get a shot again. That one is blocked. And the Wolves will exit their zone thanks to Alex Ferron. Ferron wiring it around the Steelheads net. Picked up by Fibiger. Pass out in front, kept in by DeAngelis. Nick DeAngelis, wrister comes, deflected, rebound is there. Another shot for Ferron. He's frustrated as he had a wide open cage. And now a breakaway for Zabeski. Zabeski sprawling DeAngelis, and Zabeski lands right on top of Finn Marshall. Marshall's on his stomach right now, and Zabeski is dragged off of him.
Beautiful stick check to negate that scoring opportunity. That's textbook.
What a sequence of events, and you're right, Rick, as it looked like it was going to be a clear breakaway for Zabeski, but it was Nick DeAngelo sprawling and preventing it from being an actual shot. But unfortunately, Zabeski landed right on top of Marshall, like rear end, pretty much right on top of his head. Accidentally, I will say. It was completely accidental.
Inadvertent, as we like to say.
Inadvertent. I like that word better. I can use that one at home.
And your wife will look at you and say, "Who are you?"
Yes, I misplaced it. It was inadvertent.
It'll come in handy,
and
trust me.
She'll be so impressed. Play continues. First minute gone in this third period. Close call in either ends of the ice. Wolves are on it inside the Steelhead zone. Odell is shot just wide of the Steelheads net. Rebound was there. Henderson fished it out. Was looking for Chase Coughlin. Steelheads Rakoff. Cross ice feed to his defenseman Harding. Martone up to McDonnell. Puck goes into the Wolves zone. Icing not called. Donovan McCoy for Sudbury. Hands it off to Ziliato. Jack Ziliato to Henderson. Puck at the center ice area. Wolves will fire the puck in, but icing is going to be waved off again. Steelheads, Fibiger takes it across the center ice area, dumps it into the Wolves zone, and Noah Roberts, one of the newest members on the defensive line, back at the trade deadline, has to recoup as he's on with Blonda on the back end. Molnar into the Wolves zone, cross ice pass to Roberts. Roberts back to Blonda. Blonda along the boards to Molnar. Molnar leaves it for Chitteroni. Hudson Chitteroni has shot. Ends up on the stick of Tajan Street. Tajan Street, who scored a power play goal back in the second period.
Number 2 on the year for Tajan.
Wolves cannot keep the puck inside the Steelhead zone. They'll have to come out. Puck ends up at the red line. And the Wolves nearly put themselves offside, so they got a touch up. Steelheads will move it around in their own zone. Van Volsen back to Von Richter. Fibiger cycling it around, wanted to move forward, but now just leaves it behind the Steelheads net. Good pressure from Sudbury. Villeneuve on hat-trick watch. Pass out in front. And Jack Ivankovic with a really good poke check. Steelheads the other way. Zabeski. He's been dangerous all night tonight for Brampton. Zabeski back to the blue line. Shot from Smith. Rebound is there. Marshall the save. Rebound. Pile up in front of the Sudbury net. And it's big Vilmer Ulrichsen as... Well, standing right in front of the Sudbury net was Misa, and he wanted to get another one. He scored back in the first period for Brampton.
And that's what caused the pileup over there, because he was sniffing around for a loose puck. And the Wolves defenders were quick to assist Finn Marshall on that situation. 16:57 to go. Let's see if the Wolves can come back, make this close, maybe get another one quickly here, make it 5-4, then set the stage for a great 10 minutes of play in the last 10 minutes of the third period.
Face off inside the Wolves zone, won by Sudbury with a burst of speed. Coughlin. Chase Coughlin, a shot on. Pad save for Ivankovic. Henderson still inside the Steelhead zone, leaves it for McCoy. Deflected into the corner. McDonnell nearly taking that one to the face. Ziliato for Sudbury to Henderson. Henderson gets around his man, but Martone, the captain for the Steelheads, will push it to center ice with McDonnell. McDonnell leaves it. Shot comes, and it's gobbled up nicely by Finn Marshall. And you know, Marshall came in at the start of the second period. He's allowed just the one goal, and it was on the penalty shot. And honest, he has really settled in nicely here tonight.
Okay, so do you want to start him on the weekend? Which game? 1, 2, or 3?
Well, who do they have first? Is it Erie? Because I know they had to cross the border.
They're playing Flint, Saginaw, and Guelph.
I mean, sorry, I meant Flint, yeah.
So maybe you can try.
Flint, yeah.
Let's try him against Flint and see what happens.
Flint. Give him a shot.
Coach, are you listening? It's going to be Scott Barney's call, and in all likelihood, probably Krawchuk. But hey, Marshall is getting more confidence every time he steps on the ice.
Yep, these opportunities are good. Puck is inside the Wolves zone right now. Shot from the Steelheads, and it's another save made nicely by Finn Marshall.
But he may get game. if you start them game one, Saginaw would be the tougher team.
That's true.
And then go maybe Marshall game one, Chucky in game two, and maybe, or go back to back, depending on how you want to slice it.
Yeah, round out the trip with Marshall. Face off inside the Wolves zone. 5-3 for the Steelheads still, by the way. 4 minutes into this third period. Steelheads are cycling it into Wolves territory. Just in behind the Wolves net. Eventually into the corner, and a big hit thrown by Nate Villeneuve. As the Wolves get it to the center ice area, thanks to Muse. Muse up to Kieran Walton. A backhand pass goes right through the blue paint of the Steelheads net. Ulrichsen, the big forward for the Steelheads, dumps it into the Wolves zone, but Villeneuve was there first. Alex Ferran along the boards looking for Walton. Walton over to Muse. Forward pass, he looks skyward as he gave it away. Steelheads lobbing it to the center ice area. Here comes Misa with a burst of speed. Misa's going to be run into hard by Alex Ferran. Pass out in front. Rebound is there. Villeneuve may have just saved a goal. As Marshall has lost his stick. He gets it back now, though. Puck eventually to the center ice area. Wolves nearly on a 2-on-1 rush. Here come the Steelheads back into Wolves territory. Thanks to Charat. Ferran back to help out defensively. Wolves get out of their own zone. Walton crossed the red line. He dances away, gains access to the Steelhead zone, runs out of real estate, looks for Molnar. In along the boards is Zabeski. He's tripped up, kind of falls over his own skates as the Wolves are on the forecheck, and now burst of speed. Sova across his own red line, across the red line, wires it around the Sudbury net. Luca Blonda, the young defenseman for Sudbury, on it first. Along the boards is Molnar, and he's off to the races. Andre Molnar with Chitteroni. Chitteroni, forward pass, ends up into the corner inside the Steelhead zone. But Brampton will find the loose puck first. Brampton takes it across the red line. Martone, one-on-one with Blonda. Martone, saucer dish into the pocket, and big defenseman Connor Smith joined the rush. McDonnell for the Steelheads, pass out in front. Shot comes off the goalposts. That was Carson Rakoff. He had all the time in the world. He beat Marshall, but did not beat the iron.
The iron, ask any goaltender, is your best friend. Anytime, any situation. And remember, it's not an official shot on goal either. So use that iron to your advantage, and goaltender and the iron will always get along. Spoken by not David Bowen, but yours truly, who's played goal in the past. David will agree wholeheartedly. We could go on and on about how great the irons are for goaltenders.
It's true. I think it's Marc-Andre Fleury of the NHL. He has full-out conversations with the goalposts. And he's fully admitted it.
And Patrick Wow used to be very close to the posts as well.
Yeah.
It's just something that you develop, you know?
Face off inside the Wolves zone. Puck was dropped. They say we're going to do it all over again, though. McDonnell face-to-face with Ziliano. 13:49 to go in the third period. Wolves are down by a pair. But things really opened up back in the second frame. Here's Henderson over to Coughlin. Coughlin gets a shot on net. Stick save for Ivan Kovic. McCoy, another shot. Rebound was there for Coughlin. Coughlin leaves the puck in the corner inside the Steelhead zone. Wolves can maybe smell one here. They're getting closer. Shots are 35 for the Steelheads, 26 now for Sudbury. Steelheads take it across the red line. Rakoff with a burst of speed. Little backhand pass over to McDonnell, who's waiting in the opposite corner. Deep inside Wolves territory, shot, nice pad save, another shot! And it's Donovan McCoy putting his body in harm's way, but makes a tremendous block. Another shot, blocker save for Finn Marshall. Steelheads still have possession inside the Wolves zone. Another shot deflected over the Sudbury net, and Marshall's run into by Martone this time.
He was bumped out of position.
And we got a delayed penalty coming against Sudbury after this sequence. Wolves will touch up, and now we're going to find out what the penalty is.
We are going to have slashing penalty.
And it's Chase Coughlin back to the penalty box, and I believe it was the classic slashing the hands out of the stick. And so, as the Wolves have been really building the momentum in their favor, not an ideal time to take a penalty with 12 and a half to go in the third period, but big PK coming up here for Sudbury. Face off inside the Wolves zone. We welcome you listening to Wolves hockey wherever you are, whether it's online, on the radio dial, at home. If you're online watching the stream, we say hello to you as well. Face off is won inside the Wolves zone by the Steelheads. Fibbiger picked up an assist back in the first period, assisting on the opening goal. He's on this power play. Shot at the blue line from the Steelheads goes wide. Hudson Chitteroni gets it back to his defenseman. Now a shorthanded opportunity the other way. Villeneuve one-on-one with Von Richter. Von Richter rubs Villeneuve out of play. Puck is deep inside the Steelhead zone. Villeneuve and Von Richter continue to shove, and they're tied up in the corner. Misa for the Steelheads hands it off to Zabeski, who jumps into the Wolves zone. Misa over to Ulrichsen. Shot comes. Rebound picked up by Harding. Big rebounds. Cleared into the corner. Wolves fire the puck the distance all the way into the Steelhead zone. 1 minute of this power play is done already.
That went by rather quickly.
Number 7, Finn Harding, Pittsburgh Penguins prospects. Now he gets rolling, moves forward across his own blue line for the Steelheads. Up to Rakoff. Rakoff, very, very dangerous skater out there. Puck goes into the mesh and out of play.
Okay, I've got a burning question for you, and I want you to consider this seriously. Is it cheating if you're trying to watch your date and you have a maple-covered donut in the media room and a hot dog a little bit later on, like we just had during the second period? Is that cheating on your diet?
Did you have a maple donut as well?
I had a maple donut in the media room, and I had a hot dog tonight, and I'm just thinking, okay, now I feel guilty. I feel shame.
No, you've earned that, Rick. You've earned every single ounce of that maple donut.
I eat enough garbage as it is.
Maybe don't listen to me.
I'm just trying to get it right.
Steelheads back into the Wolves zone, still on a power play for 20 more seconds. They're set up, shot to the net. Rebound is there. Pat save for Marshall. He's down, sprawling. Another shot deflected into the corner, and Marshall's really keeping his team in this one right now. Steelheads just barely keep the puck in the Wolves zone. Around the Sudbury net it goes. Steelheads are on it. Sova. Shot comes, held on to by Marshall, and he has faced a flurry of saves, particularly in this last couple of minutes.
He's just trying to keep his team in contention here. I mean, time is a factor. 10:40 to go, third period. Still a 5-3 game. I mean, after the Wolves outscored the Steelheads 3-1 in the second, still have a shot. So if Marshall can continue to do what he's doing, that's a great thing. I should get you a 6-pack of maple donuts.
Oh my goodness. I wouldn't say no. Another shot right after a faceoff won by the Steelheads. Wolves take the puck. Back to even strength. Coughlin's right out of the box. Back into Wolves territory is Roberts. Roberts is going to ice the puck though as he looks skyward. That I don't think was the plan, and he...
No, there was a Sudbury Wolves player going on the line change. And I think maybe Roberts thought, oh, okay, I'll pass it up on the right side.
And he had a bit of a conversation with himself. And now a face-off happens inside the Wolves zone. So if you're Sudbury, you got to win this one. And they don't nearly an opportunity to shoot for the Steelheads right off the hop. Fortunately, the puck does get out of the Sudbury zone. Steelheads back in their own territory. Big Connor Smith, again an Anaheim Ducks prospect, moves it around to Ulrichsen. Ulrichsen using his big 6'6" frame, gets a shot off somehow, and a blocker save made by Marshall. Now we got Henry Muse down in some discomfort inside the Wolves zone. Not sure what happened. If he took a stick up high, have to keep an eye on Henry Muse of Sudbury. Ulrichsen, again, he's one of those just massive figures on this Steelheads club. He takes the puck into the Wolves zone right now. Wolves will find the loose puck. Here's Walton. Cross ice dish to Villeneuve. Villeneuve, forward pass. Wolves couldn't get a shot on net. 9.5 minutes to go in the third period. Wolves down by a pair. Steelheads will ice the puck, and that will be the official call. So Henry Muse on the Wolves bench right now. Looks like he'll be okay, but it might have just been a stick that came up high on him after the shot from Ulrichsen.
Sometimes that's all it takes. No penalty, of course, and Muse looking like he was in agony, attempting to get to the bench, but he's okay now. It's like Villeneuve being hit hard in that second period. Came back and got a big goal.
Face off inside the Steelhead zone, won by Sudbury. Wolves had an opportunity to shoot. Now they get it back to the blue line. Odell will wait. He'll get a shot high and way wide. Right off the glass, in fact. Wolves can't keep the possession. Misa back the other way for the Steelheads. Misa with Ulrichsen. Misa shot. Pad save for Finn Marshall. Quick up to Cohen. Cohen with no Musty or Delic in the lineup tonight, or Clayton. Cohen and Klinkhammer in the lineup tonight for Sudbury. They've had quite a few shifts each. Here come the Steelheads back the other way. Misa across the red line. One-on-one with McCoy. McCoy roughs him up a little bit. Marshall will play the puck off the glass as Sudbury will move it around neatly. Donovan McCoy for Sudbury. Forward feed and nobody home, unfortunately, at the wing. Puck ends up at center ice, picked up by Zabeski of the Steelheads. 8.5 minutes to go in the third period. Again, Wolves down by a pair. Wolves exit their zone, but they give it up. Ziliato, 1-on-4 for Sudbury. And look out. Tajan Street threw a big hit. And he got the worst of it as he missed his man, and he's in some discomfort. And now we got some pushing and shoving.
Oh, there's a fist. There's a wash in somebody's face, helmet area.
And what just happened? Tajan Street came flying out of nowhere, looking for the big hit. And
he missed.
He missed, and he went flying into the boards. And now he's hearing about it from the Steelheads bench.
Well, there's always chirping going on in any OHL game, so if you do something that doesn't quite work out, you'll hear about it. And these guys know each other through minor hockey and various junior leagues, so they're not strangers.
Face-off happens just outside of the Steelhead zone. I mean, if you're Tajan Street, you're feeling pretty good. You got a power play goal tonight. Looking for the big hit to give a spark. And sometimes you just miss the mark as well. Steelheads back into the Wolves zone. Some extra hacks and whacks starting to happen towards the tail end of this one. Villeneuve again on hat-trick watch tonight. Finding foot on in front, deflected into the mesh. And out of play.
Boy, could Farah ever use a goal right now.
He's got a couple assists tonight, but you're right. He would love to find the back of the net again.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be equally frustrating. You know, just trying to get that puck into the net. You're trying to do what you can, make the plays and what have you, but it's just not working.
Face off inside the Steelhead zone. 7:45 left in the third period. Again, 1 point separates these two clubs, and it's the Steelheads who are 1 point up on Sudbury, so you get the magnitude of a game like this. Steelheads a shot, it went off the goal post. Rebound is there. Held on to by Marshall as now some pushing and shoving happens, and just like that, the Steelheads nearly doubled up on the Wolves.
We've had a few crossbars and posts in this game this evening. Shot from that left face-off circle off the iron. Marshall saying, thanks, guys. I needed that.
Yeah, there was a crossbar that happened earlier in this period as well. So the draw will happen inside the Wolves zone. Van Volsen and Ziliato. Face-off won clearly by Sudbury's Ziliato. He'll leave it for Noah Roberts, who was looking for a winger, but no winger was there. So the Steelheads will have a little takeaway here. But fortunately for Wolves fans, they misplay the puck, and they're forced to come back in their own zone. Sova to Zidlicki, who deflects it right back into Wolves territory. The final 7 minutes now of the third period. Wolves have it in their own end. They'll just chip it to center ice. Sudbury trying to get one back here to make this a one-goal game at the very least. Noah Roberts for Sudbury. Along the boards to center ice. Coughlin can't hang on, and now we got a whistle on the play.
Now time is a factor for the Sudbury Wolves. 6:46 remaining. Third period, 5-3. This is a big game, of course. Brampton and Sudbury battling for 6th overall in the Eastern Conference standings. And this one won't do the Wolves any justice heading into a 3-game trip down south.
And here's the steal. Here's the Steelheads. Ulrichsen a shot as he was in on a breakaway. And a good blocker save there for Finn Marshall, who has been doing everything he can to keep his team in this one. Wolves take the puck back into the Steelhead zone. 6.5 minutes left in the third period. Steelheads clear to the center ice area. DeAngelis is there, run into hard by Zabeski. And Villeneuve comes back to help his defenseman out. DeAngelis across the Wolves' blue line, across the red line as well. Eventually dances into the Steelhead zone. Hangs onto a stick, but Zabeski's back there for the Steelheads. Off the boards, Ferrand on the forecheck. And you kind of get a sense that the Steelheads are going to set up a wall as much as they can here for the final 6 minutes of the third period. And if you're the Wolves, got to pour it on. Here's Villeneuve. Drop pass opportunity for Walton in front of the Steelheads net. Couldn't get it on net, though. Kieran Walton. Dipsy doodling. Pass out in front looking for someone open, but the Steelheads found the puck. And they're going to skate it out thanks to Finn Harding. Finn Harding dropping for Von Richter. Shot comes, deflected into the glass. Remains in play. Across the red line goes the puck. Back into the Steelhead zone. Henry Muse appears to be okay after taking that stick earlier in the period. Muse, a shot coming. Glove save made by Jack Ivankovic. 5:11 to go in the third period.
Just looking at some of the standings in, of course, the OHL conference, I'll tell you how important this is. I mean, when you consider where the Wolves were and where they are right now, so Sudbury, a 1-point lead over Brampton, so if Brampton holds on and wins, they'll jump Sudbury. Sudbury then sits 7th, and both teams will have played 50 games after tonight, so very, very important. And the next team is Niagara at number 5 with 60. And of course, North Bay and Ottawa still trying to determine who wants to play Barrie, Oshawa, or Brantford in the first round of the playoffs. So again, so important because depending on the opponent that you wind up getting in that first round of the playoffs, 6th or 7th, I'd like to, if the Wolves can, make an effort to try and even finish 5th. Might be better off, and you could wind up playing Kingston in that first round.
Well, face-off comes here inside the Steelhead zone. 5:11 to go in the third period. Wolves looking to get one back. Puck was dropped. And it looks like we're going to do a little redo here on the face-off. Face-off is won by Sudbury. Molnar, shot comes, stick save for Ivankovic. Back to the blue line, Wolves are on it. Andre Molnar, shot from the blue, purposely wide, looking for a rebound, and Hudson Chitteroni was in the back of the Steelheads net. Completely in the back of the net after he was taken down. He's now out. Bodies are being thrown, and there is the goaltender without a stick now in front of the Steelheads net, and we got a penalty coming.
That's Chitteroni.
It's going to be a hold against Chitteroni.
Yeah, he was tied up with that Brampton defender, and pretty obvious from this vantage point, he'll get 2. And the Steelheads will try to add 1 more, of course, and solidify their lead. 5-3 right now, late here in the third period. Still 2-0 for Canada over Sweden at the Four Nations Hockey early in the second period.
4:45 to go in this one. Sudbury Community Arena as we all await it's supposed to be a decent-sized snowstorm as well. Face off inside the Wolves zone, won by Sudbury. DeAngelis off the boards, cannot clear though. Harding picks it up at the blue line. Harding cross ice to Sova. Sova, a wrister, deflected in the front. Rakoff was waiting for it. Takes a hit from DeAngelis. Another pass in front. Sova, shot comes, rebounds. Good block there for Henry Muse. Short-handed is Villeneuve.
Offside.
And an offside call against Sudbury.
You know, I'm going to be perhaps the villain of all villains unless there's a storm in Greater Sudbury tonight, having called it for the last 2 days. I could be the bad guy. Like the heel in wrestling, I could just be that guy that people are going to say, well, what happened there, Rick? You told us there'd be a storm. What happened?
You said there was going to be a storm.
You said.
And there wasn't. Well, play continues. Wolves continue to kill off a penalty for another minute and a half. They fire the puck into the Steelhead zone. They're down by 2. Score is still 5-3. Steelheads gain access to the Wolves zone. Now they're set up on the PP. Martone cross ice to Harding. Sova. Back to Martone. Pass out in front. Picked up. Shot comes. And they score. Carson Rakoff, he's been looking all night. And now he gets a power play goal. And that is you can almost call it a deal sealer for the Steelheads here tonight.
And that's the cue for a lot of people to get an early start on warming up the car and getting out and going home to watch Four Nations hockey. But that is the icing on the cake, so to speak, for the Steelheads. It is 6-3 contest. So you take away that first couple of goals early in the game, couple of goals late in the first period, that the Wolves allowed totally different game considering what we saw here in the second and third periods.
Play continues with 3:45 left in the third period. Wolves fire the puck back into the Steelhead zone. Zabeski will find the loose puck. Taken across the center ice area. Misa's going to chase it down in behind the Wolves net. He's held on to by DeAngelis. DeAngelis and Misa exchange. Another shot from Ulrichsen, and it's in the back of the net. And just like that, it's 7-3.
Yeah, now I think the psyche of the Sudbury Wolves in this contest, okay, 6-3. Let's just get the game over with, and Brampton's not satisfied with that, coming back for another. So this place is starting to clear out pretty quick.
Ulrichsen, that big 6'6" forward, he scored twice tonight for the Steelheads, and he's really used his frame to his advantage.
So Brampton's on a bit of a roll. Tonight's win will be their third straight. And they'll take over 6th in the OHL Eastern Conference.
Yeah, now 3 points up of Sudbury after this one. Play continues, back into the Wolves zone. Noah Roberts for the Wolves, puts it behind the Sudbury net to Luca Blonda. Blonda off the glass, and it's going to go the distance. That'll be an icing call. Should have been an icing call as Ivan Kovic is looking at the referee. I thought it was going to be an icing call as well, but not the case. Steelheads take it right back as play continues. Maybe the referees want the game to continue here, Rick.
Yeah, get going, hit the road, go home.
Fibiger. Shot comes in behind the Sudbury net. An opportunity for Witkowski. He scored a short-handed penalty shot goal earlier in the game. Witkowski pass out in front, broken up by Molnar. 2.5 left. Here's an opportunity for Molnar, but a good active stick for Fibiger prevented that from being a breakaway. Around the Steelheads net comes Van Volsen. So Ulrichsen is on hat-trick watch. Villeneuve still for Sudbury is on hat-trick watch. Nate Villeneuve inside the Sudbury zone. Puck on a string, makes 3 nifty little dangles, and he still has the puck for Sudbury. Villeneuve at center ice looking for Cohen. He finds him. Cohen cycles it back into the Wolves zone. Cohen across the red line. Cohen takes a hip check. Chases down the puck to Gian Tommaso. In deep with Klinkhammer. Pass out in front for Cohen. Odell. Shot deflected into the glass. Remains in play. Donovan McCoy gets a shot off. Pad save for Ivan Kovic. Another shot for Sudbury. And no shortage of shots here tonight. Steelheads are one away from hitting 50 on the shot clock.
Good to see the kids out there getting a chance. Noah Cohen, Klinkhammer as well. Get them out there. And you know what? Sometimes late in the game, they can make things happen, get some energy going, and impress the coaches.
Play continues inside the Steelhead zone. Around the Brampton net it goes. Cohen is on the forecheck, but he can't hang on, so McDonnell will carry it to center ice. Little backhand flipper just in behind the Sudbury net. McCoy tries to clear, but puts it onto the stick of Sova. Shot comes from the Steelheads defenseman. And the Wolves will eventually clear. Cohen double shifting right now for Sudbury. Dax Klinkhammer out there too for the Wolves. The Gian Tommaso on the forecheck for Sudbury. Final minute of play in this third period. Rakoff into the Wolves zone again. Shot comes high over the glove of Finn Marshall. Takes a wild bounce all the way back into the Steelhead zone. Fibberger will just come to a complete stop behind the Steelheads net. Now he moves it forward to Harding. Harding to Ulrichsen again on hat-trick watch. He glides his way with his big stature into the Sudbury zone, but he runs into Rowan Henderson for Sudbury. Henderson over to Tajan Street. Street for the Wolves. Pass out in front. Nobody home. Blonda gets absolutely decked by Ulrichsen. And Tajan Street wants a piece of Ulrichsen. And now some shots are being fired. Ulrichsen takes a couple hooks from Blonda and Tajan Street after that hit. But Ulrichsen is saying no to just about everybody, as it was not even an intentional hit. Blonda just skated into the big man, and it was a big size mismatch.
Well, again, the boys having to come to their teammates' rescue.
And let me tell you, Blonda got absolutely run over. That's one of those that knocks the wind out of you. And Street and I believe Noah Roberts both went after Ulrichsen. So Street's off to the penalty box.
I'll give Street full marks for doing that. That's what you've got to do, and Roberts in there as well. So you don't put up with any kind of activity like that from an opposition forward in that situation, leveling what will be one of your best players down the road.
And you got to feel for Blonda, as again he's still hunched over on the Wolves bench. He got run over real hard. And just for some perspective, Luca Blonda is 5'11", 173. Vilmer Ulrichsen is 6'6", 234.
Bit of a discrepancy. And that hit was not inadvertent.
No, not inadvertent. It's a good word. That's going to be word of the day.
Yeah. There you go. Take it to work tomorrow and try it out on Josh.
14.8 on the clock. 7-3 Steelheads. Tajan Street takes the only penalty. And Noah Roberts is now done, as he had a mouthful for the referee as well. So he's done for the night.
I certainly hope there aren't any implications from tonight's game heading into the road trip.
Play continues. Steelheads, final 10 seconds on the clock. They're inside the Wolves zone. A shot comes from Sova, and it deflects wide. Steelheads again, a shot coming off the outside of the net, and that'll do it. At this point, referees just got to get in the middle and make sure nothing more happens.
Yeah, just get these guys off the ice.
And that's what they do. Referees will set up a little line at center. So, started off not great for the Sudbury Wolves. The Steelheads came out flying in the first period, scored a couple real quick, scored a third, scored a fourth. It was 4-0 after the first period. Now into the second period, there was some life that was brought into the building again by Sudbury. Nate Villeneuve started it off, his 26th, from Muse and Ferrand. And then Street scored a power play goal for Sudbury from Ziliato and McCoy. But then after that, there was the penalty shot. And that, to me, was kind of the turning point for the Steelheads. And Witkowski, I mean, give him credit. He scored a beauty goal on Finn Marshall. Penalty shot, his 10th of the season, also a shorthanded goal. And the Steelheads didn't really seem to look back after that.
No, and the thing is, that first period really killed Sudbury. I mean, they had a chance, and again, time quickly became a factor. Goal number 6, then goal number 7. A couple of quick ones, and that bad start really hurt the Sudbury Wolves in this contest, and got a little chippy in the second and third periods, but again, the Wolves just didn't roll over for the Steelheads. And lo and behold, they had their moments in this contest, tried to make it close, came up short, but they could take solace in the fact that, okay, they didn't destroy us and we didn't die in the process. So it's just one of those things where the Wolves come up short by a score of 7-3 against a hockey club that started